Initially designed for only a month, the mission of a tiny Martian helicopter turned into a real test of survival. This device, located almost 300 million kilometers from Earth, weighs only 680 grams on Mars. Surprisingly, some of its components, like chips from a smartphone and batteries from a wireless drill, can be found in ordinary terrestrial devices. For a long time, it functioned flawlessly. But the Martian winter was approaching, bringing with it a deadly cold. Nighttime temperatures dropped to 85 degrees Celsius, and with the planet moving away from the sun, it should have become even colder. Fierce field storms threatened to deprive the device of sunlight. On the 27th Martian day of the Sol mission, communication with the helicopter was suddenly interrupted. Attempts to contact were unsuccessful. On the ground, engineers began to sort things out, and everything pointed to the death of the device. However, there was one last trick that could bring him back to life. This drone became the first device to fly on another planet. Initially, few believed in the success of the mission. Even the scientific leaders of the rover project, with which the helicopter arrived on Mars, considered it a waste of time and resources, distracting from the main scientific goals. With a budget of only $80 million less than some sci-fi movies, the project seemed like an adventure, but the team of enthusiasts believed in their idea. On February 18th, the 21st year, the rover successfully landed on the Red Planet, bringing a helicopter with it. After disconnecting, the device began preparing for its main goal, to prove the possibility of flying in the extremely rarefied atmosphere of Mars, the density of which is 100 times lower than Earth's. To do this, the helicopter had to be ultralight, and its blades rotate at a speed of more than 300 revolutions per minute. After 2 months of thorough checks, everything was ready for the 58th wash Sol. The blades spun, and the device soared into the Martian sky. 120 years after the first flight of the Wright brothers on Earth, humanity conquered the air on another planet. 5 successful flights in a month. The original goal was achieved. The technology has proven its worth, but success has created new expectations. The mission management demanded to continue. Now the helicopter was supposed to become an aerial scout for the rover, helping to look for signs of ancient life, exploring areas difficult to reach or dangerous for the rover. It was great news, but the team faced uncertainty. No one knew how long the device would last, whether the 7th flight will be the last or the 10th. I had to act without clear instructions for such a long mission, improvising on the go. Controlling the device is not an easy task. Due to the huge distance to Mars, the signal delay is at least 6 minutes in both directions, while the maximum flight time of the helicopter is only 2 minutes. Therefore, it must fly autonomously. The pilots on the ground set the route, and the helicopter performed it independently. For navigation in the absence of a GPS network on Mars, a simpler method was used. With the help of the lower navigation camera, which takes 30 black and white pictures per second, the onboard computer tracked the movement of visual landmarks on the surface, rocks, and terrain irregularities. Analyzing how these landmarks shifted from frame to frame, the device calculated its own movements, like an optical mouse of a computer. However, this method was not absolutely reliable. During the 6th flight, after leaving the tested area for the first time, the helicopter encountered a problem. He began to rock violently. The reason was a failure to synchronize data with the navigation color cameras. The system received outdated information about the position and tried to correct the course, but only aggravated the swing. Fortunately, the error was small, and the device managed to land before the crash. The problem was quickly fixed with a software patch. The following flights were successful, until the first field storm began during the mission. The team had to cancel the 19th flight and wait it out. The storm lasted 6 days. When the connection was restored, it turned out that the helicopter survived, but faced new difficulties. Martian dust settled on the solar panels, reducing energy production by 18%. And clogged the servos of the blades. It took time to clean the mechanisms with careful movements. The duration of flights had to be shortened. Survival was becoming increasingly difficult due to the coming Martian winter. Sudden temperature changes from 27 in the afternoon to 13 degrees, and at night in some areas. Although there were fewer drops at the landing site, but still extreme ones created a huge load on the components. The manually soldered contacts and ion batteries, whose liquid electrolyte could freeze, were particularly vulnerable. To protect the sensitive elements, a thermobox with heaters operating at night was used. Heating took up to 75% of the battery charge. The colder it got, the more energy was required to maintain heat, and the efficiency of frozen batteries fell. A vicious circle. On the morning of the 3rd of May, Earth time, the team again did not receive a signal. It seemed to be the end, but there was a hypothesis. Due to the cold and lack of light, the batteries could completely run out, the clock got lost, and the device simply woke up at a different time than expected. Having calculated the new estimated time of awakening, according to the Martian sunrise, the engineers tried to contact again, and received an answer. The device withstood a complete freeze, although its components were not designed for such temperatures. However, one device, an inclinometer measuring the slope relative to the surface before takeoff, failed. Without it, flights were impossible, but then ingenuity and the use of terrestrial technologies helped. The helicopter had sensors similar to those in smartphones, an inertial measuring unit. The team reprogrammed the onboard computer to use the data instead of the broken inclinometer. These consumer components, although not designed for space, turned out to be surprisingly resistant to cosmic radiation, from which the thin atmosphere of Mars almost does not protect. This was an important discovery. It is possible to use proven terrestrial chips instead of expensive radiation-resistant analogs. After surviving the winter, the helicopter returned to active work. He made 41 more flights, exploring craters, taking unique pictures from a height, helping the rover. The team experimented testing the limits of the device's capabilities to fly faster. I had to climb higher from 10 to 24 meters. This expanded the field of view of the navigation camera and allowed to increase the speed from 2 to 10 meters per second. Everything was going well until the device reached the sand dune during the 71st flight. Due to the homogeneous surface without clear landmarks, the navigation system failed again, and the helicopter made an emergency landing. Fortunately, there was no damage. We decided to conduct a short test takeoff. Just get up, look around, and sit down. But when landing, the problem was repeated. This time the blades couldn't stand it. The images taken by the approaching rover showed the wreckage. The mission was over. The investigation showed that during a hard landing on an uneven surface, strong bending moments occurred in the blades. Due to the gyroscopic effect of precession, the carbon fiber blades broke at the weakest point. Despite the sad ending of his flying career, the mission was a triumph. It proved the possibility of flying on Mars and opened a new era in planetary exploration. This success inspired the creation of a new generation of Martian helicopters, larger, with 6 screws, stronger blades, capable of carrying scientific equipment and operating completely autonomously, directly communicating with orbiters. It is planned that such vehicles will be delivered to Mars and take off from the landing platform while still in the air. The future exploration of Mars is seen to involve entire flotillas of aircraft of different sizes. It is symbolic that on board the first Martian helicopter, there was a tiny piece of fabric from the wing of the very first plane of the Wright brothers. The connection between the first flight on Earth and the first flight on another planet. And although its flights have been completed, the device has not stopped completely. It continues to operate as a stationary weather station, transmitting temperature data and photographs to Earth daily. It has survived the estimated service life dozens of times, overcome many difficulties, and forever changed our idea of exploring other worlds.